Certainly no fallacy that Lisa knows how to do a presentation, and that was another fantastic presentation from you there, Lisa. I really enjoyed it. And it's different when we come to these extra manuals that cover different topics and how we look at delivering them. So I'm going to give my evaluation to Lisa, very much based upon the objectives and the criteria based inside that manual. And it started off, and it talked about what emotions did the story that Lisa provided give to us. And I started to feel, and maybe it isn't an emotion, but curiosity, as Lisa led us into that story about going to this Nicaraguan coffee plantation. And where are we going, and what's this story all about? And then there was a little bit of sympathy with the situation that became apparent there and the hardships being carried by the people. A little bit of sadness that in the modern society that's still the situation. But then as the story developed, we got a lot more emotions coming in there of joy and happiness at how Lisa and all the other people involved were able to give back a little bit and make that situation better. So I think you really did bring out a range of emotions, certainly with me and I imagine with everybody else. How did you use dialogue to evoke emotion? You had lots of fantastic sayings, and we talked about different words you like to incorporate within your speech, and you totally delivered. Like, there were so many I couldn't catch them all, but some of the ones that really would bring out emotions are things like clothing in rags, and the sun was merciless, to toothless smile lit up their face, or his face. And it's those descriptive statements almost that really give an emotional picture or paint a picture that brings on emotion. So you did fantastically there. Basic elements of a story, yeah, you set the scene really well. You gave a story and we were trying to find out where we were going with it, and then you slowly developed it into the situation that was and how you started to support the whole the doctors. And you had a lot of people in there, and I'll come back to that, to helping the kids and put glasses on people and just trying them out to see if they worked. And then the story carried on going to how the whole medical support was provided to the local community, but then it seemed to expand because more and more people who were more and more desperate were turning up, and the message must have been passed. And then you had a fantastic climax at the end of the story. You talked a lot about in your setup the people, and that actually drew me in. When you talked about these, you didn't say the doctor, you gave a name to the doctor, and it was Dr. Child and then Dr. Wayne, and you talked about Miguel, and that was fantastic as well. And so I think the use of names, you can identify with somebody, and that's a really good way of doing that. Your climax, and that's really where I was drawn in much more, and you really got comfortable with it then, was you paused, your tone changed, and then came Little Annette. And it's the way you portrayed that to us, and the volume and the slowing down of your speech. And then her statement of "Mummy, it's okay," and she got it. So those bits there were really the power element of your speech, and I think you had to do a strong climax, and you did a fantastically strong climax. So overarching, I think it was really good. Some of the people you talked about didn't come back into the story maybe, and they could have possibly been dropped off for that, but otherwise it was a great speech.